All right, my friends, welcome back to our final warrior. I guess I shouldn't say that. Who knows? There's some fun warrior variations. For now, our final warrior posture lab, Virabhadrasana 3. This is the only balancing warrior pose, and I've obviously saved it for last because 1, 2, it just makes sense to do 3 last. This pose can be done with blocks if you'd like in more of a standing L position, but I'm going to show you how to do it without blocks. It's not the most challenging pose. It can offer some challenge, but I think you guys can do it. If you end up liking this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button at the end, and if you've learned something, let me know in the comments. Warrior 3 is going to, again, be a closed hip posture, so your hips will be facing in the same direction. You're going to be balancing on one leg, and one leg will be back behind you. So you are going to feel a gentle arch in your lower back. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this for you from the side and from the front on both legs so we can get the most out of this video. The best way to me to get into this would be probably from like a warrior 1 or a high lunge. However, I'm just going to show you right from standing so we can really get the mechanisms down. In any standing pose, you see mostly people have their legs straight. So like this one, like tree pose, dancer pose, their standing leg is straight. I like to put a little bit of a bend in the knee joint. That helps to protect the knee, and then you're actually strengthening all of these little connective tissues and ligaments surrounding the joints. So I actually think that's a little bit more beneficial. Also, if you're hypermobile, locking out the joints is probably not going to be a good thing. So I'm going to teach you to kind of micro bend your knees. Another teacher might teach you something different, and that's fine. There's lots of different ways to do something. So let's go ahead and come to a standing position, mountain pose. Now I want you to put your hands on your waist to start. Put a gentle bend into your knees. So you might not even be able to tell by looking at your legs that your knees are bent. Now you're going to keep the weight in your right leg. I want you to start to shift your weight forward and lift your left leg up behind you. Now your gaze will travel down because you want your neck neutral. Think about tucking the chin in towards the chest, towards the throat. You can feel the back of your neck lengthen. Choose a spot on the ground to focus your gaze. Now you might notice your left hip is opening up to the left. Try to keep your hips square. You actually have to drop your left hip more than you would think. So I want you to think about the left hip and the outer thigh going down towards the mat, but think about the inner thigh spiraling up. So you're lifting up from the inner thigh. That's going to help you work your glute. Lift up from your heel. Flex your back foot like you're stamping a hole in a wall behind you. Keep your chin tucked. Pull your belly button up and in. So try to avoid just arching your back and letting your ribs fall out. I like hands to heart center. If you feel unstable, airplane arms can be helpful. If you really want a challenge, you can stretch your arms forward, maybe even interlace your fingers for 3, 2, 1. Slowly come back up to standing. All right, we're going to do that on the other side, and I'll show you from the front. You're going to shift the weight into your left leg and bring your hands onto your waist. Try to keep your hips square. You'll be able to notice when I show you from the front what I mean about the hips. Now I want you to start to hinge forward, sending your right leg back behind you. You're looking down at the mat. You'll notice my right hip is kind of lifting up higher than my left hip. So I want to think about dropping the right hip, almost twisting a little bit to the left. So twisting in the direction of the standing leg is going to help me drop the outer right hip, the outer thigh, and then think about the inner right thigh going up as you flex your foot. Pull your belly button up and in. Keep that little bend in your standing leg. Lift up from your back heel, gentle tuck of your chin. Breathe here for 3, 2, and 1. Step your left foot up to meet your right foot and release your arms down by your side. Now, there's lots of different options for Warrior 3, especially if your teacher likes to do some sort of creative transition, which is something I love to do in my classes. So some things you might commonly see in my classes or other people's classes would be like a bound warrior 3. So it's a little bit harder here to keep the arch out of the low back, but you still try. You still pull your belly button up and in. You feel more expansion through your chest, and I'm still thinking about twisting a little bit over the standing leg. Another thing you might see is like a eagle 3, so warrior 3 with eagle arms. This will be a little bit harder for some people, especially if you have really big shoulder muscles. It also kind of gets in the way of your gaze, so that can kind of trip people up as well. I like to try to look a little bit over to one side, still try to find that drishti point, that unmoving spot, and then again, thinking of a little twist to the side of my standing leg for 3, 2, and 1. Slowly make your way back up. Now there's lots of ways to get into this pose as well. You might come in from a high lunge position. You might start to shift your weight into your right leg and either sweep your arms back or reach your arms forward. You might come in from a chair pose and just lift one leg up behind you. So there's lots of different ways to get in and out of the pose, but the main takeaways are keeping your hips square to the mat and dropping that back leg, the back hip, a little bit more than you think you need to. It's really helpful. I don't know how much you care about the pose, but if you film yourself or maybe just use a mirror to see that back hip really does lift up without even thinking about it. So you can think your hips are square and you really do need to spiral that back hip down a little bit. It can also be helpful to have someone help you out and maybe push their palm into your back heel. So you're really working through your back leg. That can be helpful as well. Yeah, that's kind of about it. That's all I've got for Warrior 3. It is a pretty straightforward pose. It looks like a capital T shape. Try using the little bend in the knee technique and let me know what you think. Again, try not to grip the mat with your toes. I want you to press more through the balls of your feet, like the big toe mound, the little toe mound, and the heels. Yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you learned something or if this was stuff you already knew, and look out for next week's Posture Lab and Alignment Fundamentals video. I do release them every single Friday. Thank you so much for being here and have a wonderful day.